Hey, welcome to the second course where we do a deep dive into the lyrics and meaning behind the music. I'm musically malnourished. You're on my journey to go deep and wide in discovering new music and artists. This is the song Washed Up from the 2025 EP from NF. It is the closing track. So let's jump in and take a look. Now, it does appear there's a music video that goes along with this, so I'll give that a watch and put it up on Patreon. I do have the other music video, Fear, up there as well already. It says, in Washed Up, NF starts to slip away to the negative mindset seen prior to Hope. In the music video, he's seen wearing his old black clothing, representing negativity. In the music video, he finds the map to Hope, originally mentioned in The Search, which he later is seen holding in the cover of Hope. However, this time, the map doesn't have anything on it, signaling that he may have lost the hope he had previously obtained. White clothing can also be seen under the dirt where he found the map, further signaling his hope has died. Wow, that's sad. There's also a dark figure standing above him, his fear, holding the keys from Perception in intro 3. On Perception, NF says, "'Cause I thought you had me in prison this whole time, but I'm the one holding the keys." This line shows that NF knew he was capable of fighting his negativity and fear, but was just too afraid to. Now his fears return to trap him in the cage again. Further in the video, NF fights fear. The moment Nate is knocked unconscious is the same time he says career is dying, showing that Nate believes he's reached the end of his career, and his being buried is a way to visually represent that. The figure pours gas on the mansion, lights it on fire, and watches it burn. This could possibly be NF's way of saying fear is what ended his career, or maybe even his life. We can confirm that this is fear itself because in the Fear music video, NF lets fear back into his mansion and fear traps him. Fear ends up taking over him. Darkness holds out his hand, then we walk through the floor. Every decision made isn't mine anymore, like a puppet with strings. I just don't have a choice. The keys from Perception were used to unlock the mansion to let fear back in. And now that NF has lost the ability to keep fear out, he's lost hope. Lost the keys, lost my hope, lost my will, lost my joy, lost a friend, lost my home, lost my faith, lost my voice. It may even be his response to a lack of connection with God because he hasn't been close to God. He may have slipped back into old habits of negativity. Additionally, his wife Bridget describes the song in one of her Instagram stories with the following words, a song that perfectly expresses the fear of failure once you hit the top and what comes next. And here's the thing to realize too. One of the 21 Pilots songs, I can't remember which one it is, Tyler, the lead singer and rapper from 21 Pilots, he says essentially that every time he steps on the stage or takes the mic or however he's saying it, basically when he shares his music, he's going to share it as if he's dying in hopes that it might help somebody. So I think it's also realizing you're getting a very unfiltered, in my opinion, view of the fears and the insecurities and the difficulties that NF is going through. And that's a really brave thing to do because it'll bring all this attention. Oh my gosh, is he okay? Is he this? Is he that? And sure, like he's going through things, but you know it as well. You can be in a place where you're okay and you're not okay, right? You can have fears, insecurities, other things like that you're working on or goals you're trying to achieve you haven't accomplished yet. But at the same time, like you're showing up to life. And you're taking care of the things that are in front of you and you're doing your best with that. And so when somebody asks you, hey, how you doing? You're not going to be like, I wonder if I lost it all. I wonder, and it's like, okay, I just was, I really wasn't curious how you doing. And so you can say, I'm doing fine to most people. And then maybe you have these private conversations between you and a friend or you and your spouse or you and the Lord. And so both can be true at the same time. So I think even in seeing the things he's talking about, they are, of course, things that he's feeling, that he's walking through, but he's also sharing them in the most like unfiltered way. So I'm starting to wonder if I lost the hunger. Where's that kid I used to be when I was on the come up? Where's that drive I used to have before I had the numbers? Where's that take me as I am? I ain't gonna be no puppet. Yeah, this is important, right? I think the music industry, media industry, period, is notorious for that, to form you and fashion you for what is ultimately going to sell, even if it's not who you are. Where's that tell it like it is? Don't let the label hush it. Same idea there, right? Where's that, yeah, I know I'm rich, but we go and keep the budget? That's great. There is this idea in there, that's still in that idea of fight. The idea that like, yeah, I can afford it, but there's also something inside of him that wants to still exercise that self-control and not get into just being lavish for lavish sake. Those are important principles. Where's that I don't really care about the radio? If they don't like the song, then don't play it. I ain't changing nothing. Yeah, where's that person at? You see him, tell him I've been hurting bad. You see him, tell him I miss the way we used to rap. I think this line here, if they don't like the song, then don't play it. I ain't changing nothing. I think that's applicable to all of us in life. And the reality is sometimes, and I know it's a different realm when you're talking media and art and things like that, but even in, the responsibilities that you have, maybe a job that you have, the goal is that you can have ownership over those things, right? That's where you get into micromanagement, where people hover over you and make sure you do everything the exact way that they want it done. And that's always a battle, always something that you have to wrestle. And you kind of have to find within yourself, like, am I okay not really having autonomy in this and just executing the way that I'm being asked to? I don't know. It's always a balance, because sometimes you do just have to do something the way somebody's asking you to do it, because that's the nature of the work or the nature of the job. So again, another question posed without giving an answer. I think that's typically how I like to communicate. It's like, here are both sides, Here are kind of different ways to think about this, and ultimately you've got to make a decision. There are times I've walked away from something and I flat out said to the person, I said, listen, I don't think I can be who you need me to be, because I felt like what was being asked of me, there was nothing wrong with it. I just couldn't do it. I felt very strongly about the way in which I needed to go. And it was kind of an ultimatum put upon me. You will do it this way. And I just said, I can't be who you're asking me to be. And I turned in a resignation letter that day, after talking to my wife, of course. And it wasn't easy. And it hasn't been easy since. But I'm happy with my decision, and God's been faithful. And I'm in a place now that I never would have dreamed of being. In the creative pursuits I've been able to go after. And man, it's been hard as crap, but I've grown a lot through it. And that's kind of the road, right? When you do things the way everybody wants you to do them, the promise is security. So even take it into the music industry. Listen, if you take that out or change this or bring this person in or whatever, you're going to have a lot more commercial success. And you just have to balance out, like, okay, you can still be successful and even possibly more successful going the other route, but often the journey to get there is probably going to be a little more painful because you're stepping out of that security. So it's similar to starting a business, right? I think a lot of people that probably start businesses were in businesses and they were like, I'd probably do this a little bit differently, or here's really how I think I could bring value to the market. But if you stay where you're at, you have security. If you step out and do your own thing, it could or couldn't work. But you have to find that thing of like, do I have to be ultimately true to myself? Tell them that I miss the way we used to rap. And I ain't making music anymore if you don't care enough to have my back. Yeah, dropping trash, wouldn't say I've been doing that, but I'd be lying through my teeth if I said I don't think my moment passed. Am I on the brink of something great or have I lost it? Am I on the verge of making waves or am I washed up? I like that. Because you got waves and washed up together. Like, am I the one out there making the waves or am I the one laying on the beach that got, washed up from the waves? The small rooms, the intimacy, no feeling like it, which maybe there's something to that. I don't know logistically what it would require for NF to be able to perform in smaller rooms. But, I've seen other artists do it, more intimate concerts that they were like, yes, this is what I love. Reconnecting with people, being able to hear all their voices. Not that you can't do that in a stadium. But I'd be interested. Maybe, he needs to do a little tour and you can only get a certain amount of tickets, you know what I mean? And those more intimate shows. Those old shoes, nostalgic, I put my feet inside them. The Lord knew I needed this to survive the violence. The raw truth, I'm nothing without the Father's guidance. Love it. Who are you? The question that built this whole empire. Your old news, the statement that makes me think retire. The game's noose. Eventually, we all have to climb. I think it was climb it. Because the idea is that you have a noose around your neck, but it's also a rope. So it's like escaping from it and having to climb it. That's what I feel like it said in the... Here, we can look. Yeah, I still have the song pulled up. Oh. The game's a noose. Eventually we all have to climb in? Is there actually a note for this song? Climbing into the noose, is a metaphor for ending your career. NF has talked about the uncertainty of rap careers, especially his own. I just don't see myself rapping when I'm 40 years old. That's interesting. So your old news, the statement that makes me think retire, the games. Okay, yes, I got it. Because eventually you reach the end of your game. And sometimes that's fine, the recognition that's like, yeah, I'm done with that. Maybe it's then helping other artists or, just finding a different line of work. That's the idea of retiring, right? Retiring doesn't always have to be a bad thing. But the idea of being in the game, take Michael Jordan, for example, eventually the game's noose, he had to climb into it and be done and be like, basketball was wonderful and I made my mark, but I'm done. Better you climb in it than somebody have to put it around your neck. One wrong move and Duke career is dying. Did that check the label gave me make me uninspired? Am I ignorant to think I still got the fire? Am I hanging on to something I should say goodbye to? Yeah, has my time expired? Did my prime already pass or am I about to find it? Interesting. Did my peak already happen or am I still climbing? Is that passion that I had gone or am I on the brink of something great or the verge of making waves? How old is NF? "34. Okay, he was born a few years after me. You still got time. Wow. Well, listen, I really enjoyed this whole EP. Thanks for joining me for it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on anything that we talked about. I hope to see you in the next one because we're eating good.